So I decided that I want to finish up most of this book, and I like leaving you in even numbers so that leaves me in good standing. Even numbers work better for me than odd numbers, just saying. So, Winter by Jackie Ashenden. We're going to read the thank you. We're going to read the letter from Grandma June. I don't know how many pages we're going to get in on Winter, but I just couldn't leave you with 5 videos and call it good. This is dedicated to the wonderful ladies of Voltron. Let's do this again sometime. And to all the words that got cut from this novella, gone but not forgotten, you shall live on and eternally on my hard drive. Winter. Dearest Bella, it's a very strange thing to get old, to know that eventually the world will go on without you. To see clearly your successes and your mistakes, and that you still not know what you could have done about either. Oh, my serious girl, how I have ached for these past few years, but a grandmother can only do so much. And a person has to be willing. You know that even better than I. I missed your quick wit of yours, minus the swearing, young lady, and that quiet way you have always known just what someone needs, except yourself. I have so many things to ask you this winter, to make sure that this old house is ready for sale if that's what you and Kara, Lila, and JJ decide. But what you'll have to do and fight tooth and nail against. Never let it be said that I don't know you. Ask for help. Over and over again, until you realize that it doesn't make you weak. Opening up yourself for a partnership will be as sweet as those summers that we all remember so fondly. Let my spirit guide you in all that you do, and I have the utmost confidence that you'll find that hand to hold like you used to hold mine when you didn't think anyone was paying attention. Thank you, Grandma June. Okay, page 426 is where we're starting in at. Okay, 426, 427, 429, and 430. She liked being alone. Going up the wooden stairs that led to the porch, she grimaced as the steps creaked. Presumably fixing those steps was one of the most numerous tasks she had to do while being here for the winter, all detailed in her letter from Grandma June that she finally found its way to her months after it had been sent, judging from the postmark. Apparently her 3 cousins also had gotten letters. Bella didn't know what her cousins had been up to, but she fixed up the house for its eventual sale, though fixing up old houses wasn't in her wheelhouse. By the chance of a place to stay for the winter hadn't been something that she could pass up, not when she lost her room in an apartment she shared with a couple of others the day before. It was either doing what her grandmother asked or finding accommodation at one of the homeless shelters in Seattle. She couldn't bear the thought of a shelter. Her pride wouldn't allow it. The simple situation made her angry, but she had no choice. Coming back to Jasper Creek was her only option, plus there was the added bonus of the chance of money from the eventual sale of the old farmhouse, once she fixed it up, of course. The thought of selling her grandmother's house made her feel bad, but she needed the cash. If she wanted to get the plan to a safe cafe up and running, especially now all her savings was gone. She'd been on the point of finally having enough after years of scrimping and saving to buy out a little cafe business just down the street from the apartment she'd given up. The elderly owner she had wanted to sell more and move somewhere warmer like Florida. He had wanted to sell it to her. But then she had her wallet stolen, even though she canceled the debit cards, and as soon as she found out it hadn't been soon enough. They cleared out her account completely. The bank had been awful to deal with, refusing to refund the money, insisting she was negligent in not safeguarding her cards properly. It had been a terrible blow, and one that she was still recovering from. Grandma June wouldn't mind, and hey, if really hadn't wanted Bella to sell the house, she wouldn't have even mentioned it in the letter. Okay. I'm going to try to go to page 430 tonight. We'll stop at 441. She stopped on the porch in front of the old door, grabbed the key from where Grandma June had said it would be, under the mat. Her hands were freezing. She fumbled for the key. Her fingers were numb. It was really time to get inside before the temperature dropped and get some kind of fire going, though she had no idea how to light one. The idea had made her feel tireder, and then she ignored it. Her breath was puffing at white clouds in front of her face as she pushed the antique-looking key in the lock and turned it. But there was no well-oiled click. The door opened in welcome. The key stuck inside. Bella cursed, turning it harder than it wouldn't budge. She tried to turn it back and pull the key out. That didn't work either. The key remained stuck in the lock. Frustrated, she was pulling around at it, but apparently nothing was going to get it out. Great, what did she do now? The cold was bitter and deep. Unless she smashed a window, the door looked like it was going to stay closed. Bella gritted her teeth. Her grandmother had left her a number of her owner of the ranch next door to call in case of emergency. But calling that number was the last thing on earth Bella wanted to do, because that means she would have to ask her stepbrother, Noah Faraday, for help. She'd rather die than do that. Okay. This is page 429. Unfortunately, if you don't get inside, that could be an option. She turned and scowled at the snowy yard. Asking for help made her feel like her mother, who couldn't do anything for herself, at least not if she had a man around to do it for her. And calling Noah in particular made her uncomfortable. Nothing at all with how she once had a giant crush on him. But that had been years ago. And when she had been 13 and he was 19 years old stepbrother, tall, dark, and wickedly gorgeous, brooding and protective, at least was his father, not so much of her. He never liked her, and that hurt, or at least until her mother divorced his father a year or so after marrying him and moved to Seattle, taking Bella away. He probably wouldn't even remember her. Damn, she was going to have to call him. It was either that or smash a window, which she would just give something else that she didn't know how to fix. Okay, she muttered, you can do this, if only the problem was the door and it wasn't just stupid Noah. Okay, she muttered. Okay, who are you calling stupid? A deep, gritty voice made from behind her. Bella went still, stock freezing in her place. A footstep resounded on the wooden planks beneath her feet. Lila mentioned you might be coming back, Noah Faraday said, but I didn't believe it until now. Bella whirled around the porch, and sure enough, down at the end of the porch was a tall male figure, and somehow she couldn't move as he came closer. The last rays of the setting sun was chasing the shadows from his face. Her heart contracted, a wave of familiar longing washed over her. She remembered his face, that high forehead and blade of a nose slightly crooked from where he'd broken his playing football. The strong jaw had been once clean-shaven, but now a shady black stubble. The full curve of his lower lip that had once fascinated her, except the face that wasn't a 19-year-old anymore. The face was very much of a man, older, harder, more defined, and more masculine. He lifted a hand and pushed the brim of his cowboy hat up, and a pair of familiar dark eyes looked into hers. Those eyes were the same, dark black coffee, and just as fathomless. In addition to the cowboy hat, he wore a pair of worn jeans sitting low on his lean hips, boots, and a dark green coat highlighted with a width of powerful shoulders. An undeniable electricity whispered over her skin. Noah? What are you doing here? She stuttered like a fool. What do you think? He gave her a long look, compassing her soaked sneakers, damp leather jacket, and her shiver couldn't quite hide. I'm here to make sure you don't freeze to death getting into Grandma June's house. We will pick up at page 441. And I'm going to circle it so I know that's where to start. Thank you for tuning in one more time with me late tonight. And see you tomorrow to finish off Winter by Jackie Ashenden. And maybe if we're lucky, I'll start in on Debbie Maycomer's book. Sammy's down here giving me grief. 12 Days of Christmas. He's telling me, hey, it's past our bedtime. So I gotta go. I love y'all. Stay safe, stay well, and listen to what I want for you in 2021. Health, happiness, hope, joy, and love. Not only in the bank, but in your heart. Be sure that you do something kind for someone other than yourself. The reward you get is more than, don't ask for money then return, other than the 2 words thank you. And say, please pass this on to someone else. God bless. I wish you all well. I pray to see you tomorrow.